Bungie says that their recent tweet was not rage bait. It was not a PR move or a marketing ploy, but it actually came from the heart. If you don't know what we're talking about, a lot of people have been criticizing DMG for his recent tweet where he was talking about building momentum for Destiny 2. And the reason why they were criticizing it was for a few different reasons. One is that the tweet was posted just before a series, like a 2-week period of probably some of the worst updates and worst issues we've ever seen in Destiny 2. So the timing was absolutely terrible, right? For the principal communications manager, one of the higher ups at Bungie to say, we're going to build momentum, to be followed by a consistent daily failure after failure after failure for several weeks was pretty brutal, right? And then the second part, and I think the part that actually has a little more validity to it, is that it's one thing to say one thing and it's a whole nother thing to do that thing, right? You can say you want to build momentum. You can say we want to listen to the community. You can say we're listening, right? That's what Bungie says a lot. We're listening. We're listening. We keep hearing this. But in actuality, what we see them do, it doesn't feel like they're listening. And so that disconnect is very painful. And that's where a lot of people are getting mad. And a lot of the community is very upset right now and has been for, it's going on several weeks now. It's probably been going on, I would say, for some, it's years, but for a lot of us, it happened about the midway point from Final Shape. Final Shape began to age poorly, very poorly. And it was frustrating to see, basically everything go down the drain, the population and a lot of things. So the Final Shape did really poorly, but we kind of thought in our minds, hey, the Final Shape, it's over and done with. That's the end of the saga. Bungie's going to launch this new thing. It's called Frontiers. Then it's Edge of Fate. It's a whole new narrative saga, the Fate saga. This is a chance for them for a fresh start, an entry point or a re-entry point for lapsed players. And it didn't go as well as we thought it would, right? So there's a lot of backlash. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of animosity right now towards Bungie. In fact, the sentiment is so bad right now that if you were to say anything positive about Bungie at this stage, you would get roasted off the face of the internet. In fact, recently Bungie made a post saying that they reverted all of the Iron Banner armor. And I was like, this is the right approach. And they said that they weren't going to do this in the future, that they were looking at like changing their systems and that this was like not ever going to happen again type of thing. And I was like, that's good news. That's how you should do it. Everyone was mad at me. They're like, I can't believe you would say anything nice about Bungie, Lucky. I can't believe that you did this. It was a deep wound for the Destiny community that day because obviously it's been an absolute beatdown, for the community versus Bungie. So now DMG posts today saying, many thanks to all who understand my momentum post from before. The stream was from a place of wanting to do good by this community, player base, and team. Bummer another word/phrase will be used to mock me directly and personally, but I'd rather that than folks hounding other team members directly who are trying to solve the problems. So he'd rather everyone roast him. And to be fair, if you're working at Bungie, you probably want things to get better. Like, you're not going to be actively working at Bungie and be like, yeah, I can't wait to piss everyone off today. Like, that's not a good long-term plan, Like, the devs at Bungie, the employees there, they're trying to do the right thing to make the sentiment towards the game better, I imagine. I just think that a lot of them, I think that there's a lot less of them. So, like, obviously after the layoffs, you have more people doing the jobs that the people that were laid off are now doing, right? And I think we've probably lost a lot of really good people. I think we've kind of lost some of our best talent, if you would say, right? Some of the most talented people over the years. And it feels like we've kind of gutted Bungie. And now we have this team of people that doesn't really seem to be able to give the community what they want. All right. So even if you get up on Twitter and say, hey, we want to build momentum, we want things to start pushing in a better direction, the result seems to be the opposite. Speaking for myself, I truly do hope we shift and build momentum. I hope we kick ass and put out awesome fucking content. I understand that words don't mean much when folks desire action. Where listening needs to be we're doing and we've done. This I actually like. Even though it is words itself, this I actually like the sentiment that is behind this is actually nice because what he's saying is that we're listening is getting old. The community doesn't want to hear we're listening anymore. We just want to see action, Let the action speaks louder than words. Let the actions that you make speak for you because the communication of, oh yeah, we hear you and yeah, we'll get to that. is just not working. We don't need any more of that. So right now in Bungie Studios, this is what's happening. The team is jamming. Things won't be fixed overnight with a roadmap or with a single change. We've got lots of work to do. Hopefully, update after update, we get things to where we want them to be and beyond that. So that's where we're at. I mean, we're at basically rock bottom right now. It's not as bad as I would say D2 year one levels, but it might be worse in some ways because D2 year one, we hit the lowest population we've ever seen in the game. The game almost died, but it was because they needed to make a whole shift and the whole game had to change, right? The whole core systems had to change. Now, those core systems are already in place and the game is already almost dying. So now you're left with a problem that's more difficult. And you can't just change the whole core system as it stands right now. You have too many moving parts to Destiny 2 now. You have all these weapons and armor and systems already set in place. I think it was easier to do a full reset in some ways with Destiny 2 year one because less was established, less was developed in game already. So it was easier to do, I don't know, the Go Fast update and add special ammo to the game and things like that. It was a little bit easier to make those things happen. Whereas now with everything being established, it's a lot harder to make big sweeping changes like that. So seeing the population be as low as it is now, as it was like 8 years ago, is staggering, especially because we should be way past that. You know what I'm saying? We should be at a stage where we're 11 years into this. We have mastered our craft, you know? The Edge of Fate should be the apotheosis of Destiny content. It should be like we had 10 years to figure out this algorithm, if not longer, because Destiny was developed even before it launched in 2014. We had 10 plus years to develop the exact formula necessary. And now we're going to launch into the Edge of Fate. And you guys are about to see the craziest Destiny experience you've ever witnessed. That's what it should have been, right? That's really what Edge of Fate needed to be. Edge of Fate needed to deliver in a big way, and it didn't. It fell flat on its face, which was really unfortunate because that's not what Bungie wanted. And what Bungie did was they created this whole sort of backup plan for themselves where they had this other game in their back pocket called Marathon, right? And they're gonna, in case Destiny went belly up, you know, because if you don't know, a lot of businesses, you know, they don't last forever. Some businesses do. A lot of businesses, they have their time under the sun, you know? There's some businesses out there, they do really well for a period of time, and then they're over and gone with. So you never know what you have with Destiny, the game, the franchise, the studio. So they put a lot of their eggs in the basket that is Marathon. And unfortunately for them, that turned out to be a horrendous decision. That turned out to be probably one of the worst financial decisions ever, because Marathon is going to burn them several hundred millions of dollars, likely. I mean, we don't know yet. It's not, the verdict isn't out completely. Marathon isn't launched just yet, but we'll see, you know. It's likely looking like that's the outcome. I hope for a day where we are once again celebrating the new stuff. I do too, you know, as much as it seems like maybe I report on a lot of negativity. I used to, believe it or not, there was a time, there was a day and an age where I just woke up every day and we just talked about all the exciting new stuff in Destiny. We talked about the new weapons. We talked about the new exotic armor. We talked about subclasses, builds, god rolls, you know? And there's always something going on, you know what I'm saying? There was always like cheaters online. There was always some controversies brewing, but nowadays it feels like we are deep in multiple lawsuits against Bungie for like the Red War campaign, and then lawsuits from Bungie suing other people. You know, it's like there's an RC car company that's has their Bungie under patent infringement for using the term Traxxas, you know? There's like countless lawsuits going on. People are suing Bungie. Multiple people are suing Bungie currently. Bungie is suing multiple different sources. You know, it's like we're wrapped up in so much controversy and red tape. It's crazy. It's a crazy time for the company itself to stay focused on what needs to be done. And if I had to be completely honest, this is exactly the type of temperature you see when a company dies. You know what I'm saying? This is exactly what happens when you see a company die. Because what happens next in a situation like this is you have a massive loss in profits, and therefore you have to have another round of layoffs, which makes you look terrible, right? It's not your fault. I mean, it is your fault to some degree, but it's not, you know, you couldn't predict all of these situations. You thought the Edge of Fate might deliver big time, right? You didn't know. Your team put together Edge of Fate. You thought it was going to be a massive success. It wasn't. And so now we got more layoffs, more uncertainty, more people leaving Bungie. People are upset at Bungie. People within Bungie studios are unenthusiastic about their own game Marathon. people probably not wanting to have the association or the reputation of working with Bungie due to the art theft controversy and stuff. They have kind of a rough reputation now. You know, they went from being the prestigious, you know, the one of the greats, one of the Mount Rushmores of gaming studios to being kind of, you know, down and dirty, you know, with the marathon stuff, right? A lot of people have thrown shade and on Bungie and their name and the company, and you know, rightly so with the marathon stuff, of course. So it's looking bad. It's looking bad. But we have seen in the past that when things get really, really bad, that's typically when Bungie does their best work. But the problem is, it feels like the times when things are doing really, really bad, it's happening at a faster interval than previously. It was kind of like we delivered something massive, it was successful, everyone was happy, and then like 2, 3 years later, everyone's mad, and we deliver something big again every 2, 3 years. Now it's like the final shape just happened last year. The final shape was just a year ago, and we're fucking pissed already, you know? So the interval of people being pissed, it's speeding up, you know what I'm saying? We got some the pacing is not right. You know, we were supposed to be pissed off like 2 years from now. We're supposed to be at this level of rage and fury like in 2026, maybe 2020, early 2027. But it's speeding up now. We unfortunately we skipped a beat. And so now Bungie literally has their backs against the wall. Literally. If they don't want to see another round of layoffs, if they don't want to see the complete Sony takeover, they got their backs against the wall. And we need to see some big stuff delivered. Renegades will probably do well though. Let's be honest for a minute. Renegades, I feel like you can't fuck up Renegades. Most people are going to be like, holy shit, Star Wars, let's go. I think a lot of relapsed people that played the game and left, they're coming back for Renegades, you know? So I really think that we're just buying time until Renegades. And Renegades is going to make generational wealth for Bungie. Renegades is going to make money for them for like the next 2 years, probably. It'll be good, but I doubt it makes money. I'm sure these things make money. Here's how these things make money. They usually have like royalty deals with them where when they sell X amount of cosmetics, a percentage is paid to Lucasfilm or whatever, right? So they're gonna have to split some of their cosmetics, or maybe they paid for it or upfront. I don't know. It's probably going to do really well, if I had to guess. So we do at least have that to look forward to. But we got months until Renegades. I mean, if you look, you know, we got months until Renegades drops. It's going to be a very rough period of time leading up to then. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a dark time. I wasn't expecting it to be this dark, but it's going to be tough. What happens after Renegades has really got me interested, though. What happens after Renegades? What is the next thing? How do they carry us over once more, you know? It's going to be tough. The universe, the loot, the community, and more. Not just talking about a hotfix to get us closer to the game feeling fun again. Gotcha. They're really, I mean, DMG is saying the right things here. You can hate him or not. I personally, my feelings of DMG are this guy tries, whether it's misguided or goofy, you know, he's at least trying, you know, he at least puts himself out there. He gets flamed on the internet basically every other day. Not by me, but by people on the internet. And at least he's out here trying, you know? He goes, my words aren't meant to be a PR move or a marketing ploy, right? So he's not rage baiting or anything like that, which people try to accuse him of. He's just speaking from the heart. Until next time, folks, as always, much love. So there you go. That's the post that just went live. And a lot of people are going to be talking about this because a lot of people want to know, what are you doing, Bungie? What's going on behind closed doors? Are you even excited about the development of Destiny 2 right now? It feels bleak. It feels rough. It's hard being a Destiny player right now. It's hard being a Destiny content creator. People have suggested they need a podcast. Here's the thing I'll say about a podcast for them. They've actually talked about this in their twids recently. I think they will go through with this and actually deliver a podcast. But what we've seen with a lot of these Bungie streamers is they start something and they don't follow through with it. Joe Blackburn, bless his soul, that poor man who got abused by an overload champion in a lost sector. Joe Blackburn said he was going to start live streaming. I think he streamed like once or twice, and then he just dipped. He literally just left. What happened? That stream, that line of communication was incredible. I enjoyed that a lot, even if he did get absolutely destroyed. Like, we need more lines of communication. A podcast would be incredible, where they answer real questions, where they really talk about stuff. But we've seen them really fold under pressure like this, like really badly. If you saw what happened with the marathon controversy, as soon as they were kind of exposed for the art theft stuff, they went live literally in a podcast setting, if you think about it, right? They went live, and there it is. You got the game director and Joseph Cross sitting next to each other, and the mics were scuffed and fucked up. The audio sucked. The questions were terrible. The conversation was awful, quiet, awkward. It was bad. You know, it was really bad. It's unfortunate because it does feel like there's a real disconnect between Destiny players and the dialogue that we have and the interest we have in the future development of the game, and then Bungie and their efforts, you know? It's like it's a real disconnect. And most of these devs, because they don't like the sort of brash nature of the internet and the way people, you know, say crazy shit, they just run away from the internet altogether. Most of the Bungie devs have ran off to Blue Sky. Most of them have ran off to Blue Sky. They're not even on Twitter saying anything. They're on Blue Sky. They don't even say much on Blue Sky. They don't like the backlash. They don't like the how crass everyone is. So fortunately, they just don't really have the right temperament for it, you know? If you want to do a podcast, you got to have the right temperament. You got to be able to roll with the punches, you know? To be live, I'm live every day, and I look over the chat, and I will read some crazy harassment in the chat, and I'm like, well, that was nuts. Anyways, what's the god roll of this gun? You know, like, you know, it's crazy. I don't know that podcasts fix things, but more communication like this is good, and really more action. This is what I want to see. Let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below.